Please, to anyone who sees this, we don't have much time. Me and the other Hippikoffs, we can't hold it off much longer. We don't know what we summoned, but we did.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Friendly Men 2022 Halloween episode. And today we are bringing you a guy that I've been in touch with for many, many years. This man has done lots of things. You probably have seen him on screen and you didn't even realize that. Mark, which guests do we have joining the Friendly Men today? Okay, sorry.
We have a film student named Mimi from the UK, and we also have Jason.
Talk louder, Mark. We can barely hear you.
Jason
Liles.
Liles. And Jason has been in a bunch of movies. He's been, Godzilla and all kinds of cool shit, Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you so much. Hello, Mark, Mimi, and James. Good morning from California.
All right. Well, you know what, Jason? Ladies first. So I would like to hand this over to Mimi from the UK. She's the director of Aliens vs. Hippie.
Hello, Jason. How are you? Hope you're good.
I'm great. Great. How are you, Mimi?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really excited to be chatting to you today.
Me too.
Before I do, I have loads of questions about Hellraiser and actually being the chatter and stuff. But before I do, I thought maybe it'd be quite nice if people knew a bit more about your background and maybe let's start with what your favorite film that you've worked on.
Oh, well, I don't even know if I can say that because then every other director's like, what? Every film is a blessing to be a part of, and every film is an experience and a learning opportunity. And even if you're a part of something that you're like, I never want to do anything like that ever again, which I really haven't had many of those, you learn from it. And without that, then everything else wouldn't have happened afterwards. But a little bit about me, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis? I was born in 1987 there on the 4th of July on Independence Day. Today, we celebrate
Jason Liles' birthday.
We're here in the U.S. and I, youngest of three, older brother and older sister, and always wanted to be an actor. Never really believed I could because who says I'm going to be an actor? I'm going to move to Memphis, right? I just didn't know anybody there. It was such a far away thing of like people are in a movie, and I grew up on VHS tapes and Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all the Disney VHSs and I just dreamt, man, that'd be cool. My brother and I made short films, and I never studied it in high school, or it wasn't until several years into college. And so if anyone thinks like, well, it's too late. No, it's not. It's never too late to start, and it's always too early to quit. And there's so many actors who didn't start until their 30s or even 40s. They were a stockbroker, and then now we know them as an Oscar winner. It's crazy.
So how did you feel like that moment did it ever feel like, oh, wow, this is real? Was there any particular projects that you were like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually an actor now, or?
Yeah. Death Note was the first one because it was like, wow, this is a proper $40 million studio film, intellectual property people love all over the world. I'm a solo title card, which means, at one point on the film, it just says your name. It's like, I'm one of the main characters in it, and sharing a character with Willem Dafoe, and got flown to Canada and put up for a few months, and man, this is it. And it just kind of continued from there with Rampage and so many more.
Yeah, sure. So I know James is definitely a huge Godzilla fan and loved Rampage. So I'll let him ask you some questions on that. But before I do, any messages to any actors that just want to keep trying to get at it?
Yeah, like just whatever it takes, as long as it takes. And you have to look at it realistically. Less than 2% of actors who you see in movies credited make enough to live off of consistently. So you have to view it as like, I think you have to view it as an expensive hobby or just one of multiple streams of income. You got to be making money somewhere else. And you're like, no, I'm gonna make millions of dollars. Okay, well, so does Dwayne Johnson. He makes $200 million doing other things every year, with like 10 businesses. So that's just something that you have to look at, or you're gonna be broke. You will. You won't make enough, and not every year for sure. But get around people who actually have the results that you want. If you want to learn how to be the best basketball player in the world, get around Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and don't listen to your roommate who's never played basketball. Like you have to love your roommate, but you have to get around people who know what they're talking about because they actually have results, and just do what they've done, and you'll have what they have. And it's not luck. It's a sport, and you get better and you get better and you get around great players and great coaches, and you'll win games. Period.
Jason, that's a very inspirational message. You know, I've been trying to tell Mark that for years, make his acting chops better. And
Mark, you are Bill Clinton attacking buildings because you're the size of Godzilla.
You know what? When they gave that scandal on me and they busted me with Monica, that made me mad. I'm gonna bust down these buildings and show them how I ram it president style. You know, when you're fighting crime like me.
actually, Mark does a great gorilla impersonation. Mark, could you show him the George from Rampage impersonation, Mark?
I love it. I love it.
Brad Payton, call Mark. He's available if Jason can't be, you know?
I love it.
Do you have any Rock the Dwayne Johnson stories?
That was so much fun. I mean, I'll touch on a couple things with him. I mean, I was so excited to work with him. I mean, the year before he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be. And then the director, Brad Payton, you know, I'm getting trained by Terry Notary in the mountains here in California to be a gorilla. And then director Brad Payton's like, so Dwayne's going to be Han Solo and you're going to be Chewbacca in this, basically. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And so I met him on set the first day when we were shooting the stuff where he like George is in the zoo in the lab, and he's taller, and they're like, I don't know what's happening. And Naomi Harris comes in and then he breaks out into the zoo, into the parking lot. We saw that stuff inside before he breaks out of the cage. And I met him. He was just the sweetest guy. He's the sweetest guy. And he was just going to do pictures by himself on set for press. And he was like, well, wait, maybe we should, maybe you should, because we should maybe let him stay, have him stay for pictures, you know, in case we get a picture. And I started like kind of just walking on all fours, getting into it. How Terry had taught me while they're on the other side of the room while they're shooting this. And they're getting some photos and stuff. And he tells them, he's like, hold on. We got to get him over here for a picture because that's effing amazing what he's doing. And he comes up, and then afterwards he's like, how did you learn how to do that? And I told him about Terry Noe. He's like, that's phenomenal. That is incredible. And just every day on set, we'd see each other. And he's like, hey man, and just big hugs every day. He's such a respectful, humble guy. I mean, the first day, that was actually before the first day on set. The first day on set, when we're shooting that scene where he's looking, hey, you know, Naomi Harris, what's happening to my friend George? And George is like hungry before he breaks out of the cage. Mm-hmm. Dwayne comes up to me and he's like, hey, Jason, with your research and experience with primatologists and gorillas, I mean, I'm not like afraid of George here. I think that it's like, right? And I said, no, I think you're afraid for him because you don't know what's happening. He's your friend, and you got, you know, he's like your son, and so you're trying to figure out what's going on, but you're not afraid of him. And he said, okay, great, awesome, thanks. And he walks away, and I'm like, did he just ask for and take direction from a guy who's been in one movie before? And he's so humble. He's so humble. he ruined the ending of the movie 30 seconds into meeting my wife, who knew nothing about the movie. We were shooting the gorilla enclosure scene with Pavo, and the very first scene George is in, and my wife was on set for a few days, introduced him, and she knew nothing. I didn't want her to know that I faked the death at the end. Spoiler alert. I wanted her to be like, "Do you die? Oh my gosh!" and then get her. And so he's like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you," and this and that, and oh, Jason, did you get the sides last night for the change today? I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, for the whole George save Davis thing, and I don't need your saving. I was like, yeah, I love that. He's like, yeah, that way it bookends it really well at the end of the movie when you fake your death, and I was like, no, dude, she didn't know anything, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh no. And he was so apologetic. And so Allie, my wife, loves telling that story because she loves telling how The Rock profusely had to apologize. There's a video I have, the whole thing, I was shooting with him you hope he's that cool and that nice. He's more. Every day, all the time. And he's so giving. I asked him at one time before he had Zoa, his energy drink, he always had like a Boss water bottle, and he had some powder in there. He would shake it up. He'd always ask, hey, can I get some of the, between every take? I'm like, what is that? And I was like, what do you do for pre-workout and post-workout? What do you take? What's your diet? And he's like, oh, I use this. I'll get you should try some. I was like, oh, cool. He's going to give me like a tear packet. The next day, there's hundreds of dollars of stuff just sitting in my trailer. And I'm like, I went over to his trailer and I was like, dude, what the crap? Like, he's like, yeah, try it, man. It's great to try it for a couple months. It's great. And that's probably pennies to him, but it's just, he didn't have to do that. And so that's him all the time. And the final day on set, and I have this video and I just haven't posted it. We wrapped at the exact same moment at the end of the film when George's faking his death and he's got his, his eye and everything. And we wrapped and he said a whole thing and, and it's my third movie with Brad Pitt and everything. And thank you, everybody. And I'm standing over there waiting to like talk. And I'm like, I want to say, cause I'm I rap too. I'm going to say something, but I have that feeling of like, if I vocalize at all, I'm gonna start crying. As long as I don't say anything, I won't cry. But if I start talking, and it was a dream come true. And so everyone, and I have this on video from this point, because I think it was Hiram Garcia, his producing partner, was recording it. And everyone's like, yay. And he's like, whoa, Jason. And he points to me. And I just start crying. I say, man, I say that I've wanted this since I was a kid. I never thought this was going to happen. It's only my second movie. And I just, the whole time. And in the video, I'm here and he's here. And just the way he's looking at me. And he's just like, he's stepping closer and he's just like a dad to me in that. He's like an uncle. Wow. He's so, the pride he had for me of just, what we had made in that and the connection we had. And then when it's done, he's like, yeah. And he's like, can I hug? Yeah. And he just, and it stops on a frame of him just, and I want to post that. I was waiting in case they post, and then in case they announce a sequel, but it's been a few
4
years.
years.
So yeah, there's no things happening. So I need to post that on like a anniversary of us starting to film or wrapping or something or next year. But I'm really glad. And he sent me that afterwards. He's like, hey man, I thought you should have this.
Oh
and
man,
I can't get emotional. I love him.
Wow.
He doesn't know, but once or twice a week, since I've seen him, I have a dream about him, hanging out with him, and we're hugging and we hang out, we do something. I wake up, I'm like, crap, I miss you. And we message every now and then, and he's an awesome guy.
Can you do the George?
So yeah, because
yeah. Well, Jason, like I said, this now I want to get into the Hellraiser stuff. How much involvement did Clyde Barker have on this? Because he is an executive producer.
His name is not just thrown on there as like, oh yeah, he made the original and so he's credited on here. Like, no, he was from the beginning to the end talking to David, from pre-production through production. Evidently, I think he was talking with David sometimes on the phone while in Serbia about stuff and giving him notes and help, and then in post-production. It was his thumbs up and stamp of approval on it from the beginning all the way through the end. And even when we had the screening at Beyond Fest a couple weeks ago, he showed up and was there and just sang praises of everybody and of the film and of Jamie Clayton playing just that, he called her the queen of hell, and just so proud of where this is now, and so excited to see where it can go from here, now that it's really brought an audience back in a way that it just hasn't in years, being, you know, straight to video and everything. And so he was heavily involved.
That's good news. It felt like Hellraiser again, is what I can say. Because my problems with the previous one, Judgment, it was just too bloody and disgusting. I was like, Hellraiser's not about it's a gory film, but it's not just gory that makes you want to vomit your food when Mark is eating chicken wings, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't know the last time that one of the scripts was like, it was actually like, it wasn't another script taken and then like, let's put Cenobites in it and make it a Hellraiser script. Like, from the story all the way through, like, no, we're writing a Hellraiser script. How do we reboot this and kind of bring this back and honor the old, so fans are, but then bring in a whole new audience, so then we can push a sequel. Wait, like David wants to go crazy with a sequel. Like, he wants to, because people are like, oh, it should have had more this, more that, and he's like, we can. But we wanted to bring people in for this first one as wide of an audience as possible, while honoring that and expanding on it. He's like, oh, if you want that, we can do all that you guys are asking for, and he wants to.
I was a fan of the original. I have not watched all 12 or 11 movies there are, unfortunately. But how, like, when you read the script, did you, from David Bruckner, who is actually a fantastic film director? Unfortunately, I've only seen The Ritual, which I thought was great. What's your background with Hellraiser? Did you grow up watching the VHS tapes of Hellraiser 1, 2, and 3 back home in Memphis?
I was born, you know, in the Bible Belt of America, going to church every Sunday. Like, we don't watch a movie like that, or like, we're going to hell. You know, you just don't. You can watch a movie with all the R-rated action and stuff, but horror or nudity, no. So I never did. In Blockbuster, I remember seeing the VHS box. I remember where it was in our local Blockbuster, and I would see it and be like, oh gosh, and I would just move on. Like, I don't want to know what it's about. I'm not supposed to know what it's about. Oh, it's terrible. So I never saw it. And then when this came through as an audition for The Box, was what it was titled, and the character, the Clacker, and then, you know, the description of it, I was like, what the heck is this? What? And then was kind of reaching out, trying to find out who was involved. And a friend of mine was like, you know what that is, right? Like, we passed on it. Like, for the makeup, we couldn't do it. Like, that's Hellraiser. I was like, oh, dang. And so I watched the first two, and I just felt like I understood the character for the audition. And I worked with an acting coach, Lauren Salm, who helped me really just, man, I understood who this was. And I felt like I crushed the audition, and then I got an offer. And I was like, holy crap. And then I chatted with David Bruckner for a couple hours before we even accepted the offer. We were still negotiating, and he was like, I want to talk to you on Zoom for a couple hours, showed me concept art. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And so I was so excited. And then I read the script, and I remember emailing him. He's very, very communicative before we ever got on set or even met in person. I emailed him after I read the script, and I was like, dude, this script is so freaking awesome. And that, combined with that concept art and everything you were describing of your vision for this, if we can actually make that on screen, that's going to be a logistical nightmare. This is going to be freaking awesome. This is going to be one of the best Hellraisers since the original. People are going to freaking love this, and they're not going to see it coming. Man, this is going to be awesome. So I was so thrilled, and then got over to Serbia and shot it, and it was an incredible experience. And I could talk up, down, and left and right about that.
So you said it was shot in Serbia, right? Or part of it, at least?
Right,
Nice.
Entirely, yeah.
Wow, nice, cool.
Good question, Mark.
Belgrade, Serbia. I didn't know where Serbia was, and I had to like look it up on a map. And then, but Belgrade it's an amazing. It's like an older, smaller, less busy, friendlier, cleaner New York.
Oh,
And it's very walkable. At least a lot of it, it's very walkable. Amazing food and restaurants. I mean, you're only a couple hours flight from Italy there, so amazing Italian restaurants. truffles on every menu, and there's more truffle that comes. A couple people told me they're an importer and exporter. He said more truffle comes out of Serbia than any other country in Europe, even Italy, France. So truffle's like nothing there. It's pennies. Which like what a horrible. I'm bored of truffle, like because it's on every menu. Like you go out to Zach, who played the Asphyx, like was like, if I even like see truffle, like I can't, like after, because we had it like every day. But a cool historic thing is that it's the most destroyed and rebuilt city in the history of the world. It's over 40 times the last 2,000 years. Like it was a great place to shoot. We loved it.
And how much set was actually suburban buildings and street, like what? Because obviously a lot happens visually in the film with the set. So we evidently shot on like a royal compound is where like the big mansion is, which is really cool. I don't even know what that means, royal compound, but it was, we had to go through a lot to get in there, gates and everything. You can't just go in there. It's not just like a dirt road somewhere. And that gate scene with the dirt road, that's in there. That's a massive compound. And then we shot at different old buildings around the city. We shot a lot outside of the city, like where they shoot the shipping container scene with the safe inside of it. That's like an hour and a half out in the middle of nowhere, where we shot the camera tests for Chatterer on the same day. And then there's a beautiful studios out there too, like beautiful new, only a few years old studios, just out in the middle of nowhere in the countryside of Serbia. And and then it's all over the city. I actually wanted to ask, how long does it take to become the Chatterer?
Well, and so every Cenobite was different. And I actually had no applied makeup, no glue. It was, so it was a bodysuit with no zipper. So it was just a lot of lube and multiple people trying to like go from the legs and get it and get it up. It was everything but the forearms and hands, the feet, and the head. So the feet would go on after we finally got the body on. It took 10, 15 minutes, sometimes a lot of lube, and it was just, oh, there we go, okay, it's on. But a lot of times it was just pulling, and people were exhausted, like, give me a second, holy crap. Because it was heavy, and it was just so much energy to get it up like an inch. And then the head would go on, and it would zip around here, and then they would screw on all these little things, and then zip and tie up in the back over this fiberglass helmet that had the chattering going on. And then I could see through like that, like, but we got it down to like 30-ish minutes, and there was no 10-1 or 10-2, as we call it, bathroom options in that. And so it's just some days 6 or 7 hours holding it, and then when we could get it off and get it back on, but that takes 30 to 40 minutes to get everything off and then, oh crap, the zipper busted. That just adds 20 minutes. So now they gotta sew that. So like, we were very cautious of breaks. But once I was in it, I was good.
And just going back to like your process with the director from like pre-production and getting casted, how, you were saying you worked with someone to understand the character, but how do you really actually get behind the Chatterer? Like, what is that story behind there for your character, and how do you prepare for that without the like makeup and the costume? And
that's a great question, Amy. And actually, I need to put on Instagram and put on there my audition for it, because I have that. So I'm going to put that on there so people can see, like,
that blade was meant for you.
Who's there?
You reject our gift.
This isn't mine.
It is now. The docks. You opened it. We came. Come with us.
There's an acting coach who I work with. There's a couple different ones that if an audition comes up, and he studied mime, and he is incredible at bringing a character to life physically, but it always starts inside. His name's Lauren Salm, Lorin Salm. He's out here in LA, and he really helps. Before we get on our feet, let's talk about this character for an hour or two. Who is he? Why does he chatter? Where is he from? Let's talk about it from all facets. And so, obviously he doesn't really have eyesight. And so we have to play around with, like, I guess he listens to hear where things are. And so let's play around with that a bit. But then also, just as he is, who is he? And so we just kind of discovered, and I talked about it with David as well, it's kind of like he used to be a human, but this is his, like, religion now. He found this religion, he was baptized, he's all in, he's out there in the field doing mission work, and his goal is to convert and bring as many people to this religion as possible. And it's an amazing thing, and they don't realize, man, when you actually, this is the way to live. You don't even understand, but you'll see. So it's from a good place. He's so convicted about it, and which is messed up because of what it all entails. And he just, if Pinhead with priest is like the Pope, then I'm like a cardinal, and or something. And so it's right hand man to her, and that's why how he walks. It's very almost like we're gonna, and the scene with Nora is almost like a baptism to him. And it's such an honor to be there and be part of this ritual and everything. And we don't do anything intimidating. We just walk in, we look intimidating, and Mask doesn't do it, but Mask is just there. Mask is there, and so that's really a lot of kind of. But we talked about this and figured out, and you look at keywords, and that you use every word in the pages they give you for the audition. You look at every word, and you just see what can we gather from this factually, and how can we, and then how does that inform how the character moves? Let's play around with that after talking about that, and what are the rules around how he moves, and maybe what if, like, the chattering is kind of like sonar for him? What if, so he's like, or it could be a thing of just, he's excited. It is excited, and so we kind of played around with why does he chatter rather than, oh, he just chatters. No, why does he chatter though? Why? And so and then just try it in the audition, and then when you talk about it with David, and then you take that sketch that you did for the audition, okay, now we can do a full painting. And then you get on set, you got to throw it all away, because until you're actually in it on set, in the elements, acting opposite the person, you really don't know what's going to happen. You have ideas, but you come on set and you just see what happens. And you just hopefully have the character down psychologically, and then vocally and physically. And even though he doesn't talk, there's a breath to him. Even though he doesn't talk, you still have to find the breath, and then it just, and then David directed me, and very simple stuff, but just I have some video of me walking back and forth in that camera test, and he's just helping me with the rhythm of it, the pacing. Think about it like it's a processional, and you're walking down the aisle. What does that do? What if you don't step, but you just kind of glide almost? And what do you stand up straighter? Yeah. What do you put your shoulders and your arms back? Oh, absolutely. That looks great. It looks very regal. And we just found it. And then you're blind, and you're in the silicone rubber suit, and so make it work with all that when you can't see where you're going and all that.
And you can't go to the bathroom, unfortunately, for a long time.
Yes, I was going to ask you if you have any fun stories that happen behind the scenes.
Maybe I just hit bullet points, because I'm only in so many, actually. So, like, the first one, was that we shot was he's standing in the room, and Trevor and Riley are being intimate, and we like to say Chatter likes to watch. He just does. He's doing. He's there. He's just there watching. And that was a hot and sweaty day. It was 100 degrees, no AC in that apartment, like profusely sweating. That was the first time on set. That was actually the first Cenobite on set. That scene where he's just standing there in the apartment. And then it wasn't for a couple weeks that I was back on set again, and then we shot the gate scene with that was so fun and so challenging. It was 3 nights out in the woods. Cold. It got a lot colder. It dropped in temperature in 3 weeks very quickly. And just walking up out of the earth. They actually dug a hole in the earth when he walks up out of there, and it's green screen carpet in there over some wooden steps. And when you're inside silicone rubber, feet, and you can't see. Your sight is like that through little things, so you can't see where you're looking, so you can't look down at your feet, and you're like it's very difficult walking on carpet, just on wood in silicone rubber feet that you're sweating into and slipping around on, and not looking so stupid walking up out of steps. Like it was so difficult because I couldn't see the steps, so I had to count them, and they were very like small steps, and the feet, and so like that was a challenge, just walking up out of there and not looking like an idiot. And so that was a difficult job. And then you get out, and then I'm walking over, and then that whole scene that plays with Odessa and Drew there at the gate was so much fun, just hitting that and just pushing it around, and then just, trying to grab for her, and then going to him and pulling him in, and then the whole thing, and biting the arm. It was so much fun. And blood got everywhere in my mouth and on his face because they put way too much a couple of times, Josh and Sierra Russell. And he was like, hold on, that was way too much, holy crap. It's all in there. Somewhere too, we have a video of like, because I'm just like putting my face into that, and it's a blood gag, and it's just getting blood all inside the mask on my face. and it's gathering in the chin. And so there's video that Sierra Russell has. She's like, wait, okay, go. And I just like lean forward, and then just a stream of fake blood comes out of from between my teeth, inside Chatter. And then the next night we shot, Chatter backing up and then getting ripped apart, and that's practical. That's me there, and then they had a dummy matching how I was standing, and they brought that in, and so it's matched in one shot. And then so when it's pulled apart, that's why it looks like, oh, he's right there breathing, and he's pulled apart. It's not CGI. That is nice. Chains they hooked. That's chains they hooked to me. I stepped out, chains they hooked to that thing, and they really ripped a dummy apart that was meant to break apart, and shot from behind it. There's a thing behind it that shot all this blood. So you see the blood go from the middle. It's practical. They did that stuff.
Really impressive.
It's amazing. And Jacob Eaton, visual effects supervisor as well, did so many things in the movie that people think are practical, but he's so good. Like, it's like, oh, that looks amazing. Yeah, that, like, how he blended CGI with our practical was amazing. And then we shot the final scene that I shot was with Nora in the labyrinth, in that hallway, which was so much fun to play on.
3, 2, 1, action! Arms! And we're cut. Wait, what?
With Jamie as the priest, and Vukasin as the mask, and Aoife as Nora, just hanging up suspended in those chains for a couple of days, or however long we shot that. And so much fun just to get there and literally watch Jamie be the priest.
All for us. What is it you pray for?
I thought she was like the best since Doug Bradley. Like, her presence, her essence, those eyes she does. I have to, congratulate all you guys. All of you guys played a really significant role into making this movie really good, because Hellraiser has been in the dumps for a long time. Like, when the pictures started coming out with Jamie, the first pictures of Pinhead, I was sold. I'm like, all right, I got to see it. And she did not disappoint.
So where was the premiere of Hellraiser?
So technically the first time it was shown was at, I think, Fantastic Fest in Texas. But the proper like LA premiere with all of us there with a bit of a red carpet and stuff was in Santa Monica at the Aero Theater on, November 4th? Or not November, October 4th. And it was part of the Beyond Fest. So it was so it was like a screening / premiere there.
I wanted to ask as well, Hellraiser 2, are you not 2, but of the new reboot, would you take another part?
We're all in.
Yeah.
We were talking about it last night. We're like, if there's a thumbs up, we're so freaking excited to dive in and really push it and see where we can take it. And David's talked about in interviews as well. We all feel like making a Hellraiser film is a logistical nightmare. Like having to juggle all the Cenobites and the visual effects and the story and the characters and everything on set, and it just and then from development and pre-production, then filming and then putting it together, and it's everyone feels like, man, we did a great job. We can all do even better.
Yeah,
we learned a lot, and we're all. I don't think there's anybody who's like, nah, I don't want to do another one. Everyone's like, gosh, man, I hope we get it. I hope we get an opportunity to. And I hope it's able to be in theaters too.
Now, this movie's been getting a mixed reception between the fans, which is unfortunate because, you know, some people just want the same thing over and over again. And sometimes that's a little boring. And Mimi and I were discussing about modern horror movies it's just like McDonald's. They just keep delivering the same thing. You know, for example, Halloween Ends. I'm sorry, I enjoyed it because it was different. And so watching this Hellraiser movie, it felt different and it felt like a Hellraiser film in a positive way. Has David paid any attention to like the negative reactions towards this one? And then you think he's gonna adjust around it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely when you make a film, you make it for the fans. You make it for an audience. Like you look at, that's where the budget comes from, everything, you know. And yeah, I think he's very aware of what people love and how people are like, oh my gosh, thank you for making this film. And where people are like, hey, I think you could have done this, and that better. And I think always, and we're always, you know, I think people are in film are just like in sports. You know, you run a play and you go over to the coach and you're like, hey, what can I do better on the next play? Like you always want to get better. And so, and be better in the next game and improve. And so there's a lot that that fans are asking for that he very much is like, well, because everything with this film was intentional. It's because some people are like, oh, well, it wasn't enough this, it wasn't enough that. It's like, well, intentionally it was that, because we wanted to honor the old one, but not like, not, you know, what's the word, pacify it. But we wanted to push it, but bring in a whole new audience, because so a studio would say, wow, look how many people watched it. Yeah, go make another one. And they're like, great, we're gonna go crazy on this now that we got in the door. And there's so many ideas there that we were talking about even last night that he wants to do that I really hope we get the opportunity. And I think any fan who's like, yeah, but it could have been this, the sequel would make them pass out. Like,
so it sounds like this one is a teaser. This one's like, oh, so here you go. Here's what we're slightly planning.
Teaser, but yeah, it's Hellraiser. You know, the budget's every studio is like $20 million for a Hellraiser movie. No, you know, so to get a thumbs up for that, I don't know how they got this made. When you look at how many films and how, you know, it's not, you know, and it was never a blockbuster. It was never like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street. It made money. The original made money, but it was never, you know, and so it had it's a hard sell. There's a fan base there, but it's a hard sell. And so I don't think he could have done a better job making one that old fans are happy with. Can't please everybody. And that's a whole new audience. Like, I never saw one before, and this was great. Now I'm going to go back and watch the originals. That was the goal. Now where can we run wild with it? And he has ideas, and I've told him multiple times, like, I don't care if Chatter's back, I don't care if it's something else, I don't care. I'm in like 100%, and I think pretty much everybody else is too.
You could play like a guy like eating a sandwich where like a chain comes out and takes your sandwich out of your mouth, and you're like, my tongue.
Sure.
So,
I mean, if Chatter came back, awesome. If it's another Cenobite, awesome. But then maybe I'd so be open to, you know, like a Cenobite, but then also there's this human character, you know, maybe they're not in the same scene. That's really like my manager, my agents, and my like main goal. Just like, you know, my manager jokes sometimes with casting or with executives, like, well, yeah, he trained to be a gorilla and he's been a dragon. He has 35 years of experience being a human. So he's very good at being a human. And so that's the goal. We've been painstaking, like, oh man, so close to some incredible opportunities the last few. It's just, we went with that. We're down to you and him, but we went with him. And so that's the goal. But when stuff like, you know, Hellraiser and this comes up, it's like, heck yeah, I want to do that. Oh my gosh. And so, because they're often on all the posters, you know, they're the coolest characters in the film. And so, but yeah, and specific to David, if he calls me and he's like, hey, I'm doing a film and there's a role I thought about you for. I'm in. I didn't tell you what it was. I'm in because you're directing. I'm in because he's such a great captain of the ship in so many ways.
Jason, I really appreciate all your insight and all the, you gave us a lot of good substance about how it was like to get into that character and the process and everything. Thank you so much for, taking time out of your busy schedule to come on our show.
Thank you so much. I know I probably took up a lot of question times as well.
No,
but,
you didn't. You did just fine.
But yeah, no, it's really insightful because I do acting and directing, so it's really good to actually speak to an actor, especially with like monsters, and hearing your process with the director and how much involvement you have behind the scenes. It's been really, really, really insightful, and it's been awesome chatting to you.
Plug your socials. We never do this with our guests, but please plug your socials.
I'm on Twitter, but I'm never on Twitter. But I'm on.
That's good.
I'm on Instagram more than anywhere else, and I'm still not on there that much. If you notice, I like before Hellraiser came out, I posted like 6 times in a year. I'm not, but it's the Jason Liles. So it's my name, Jason Liles, with the THE at the beginning because someone else is already Jason Liles. So
asshole.
I'm like, I don't be like Jason Liles 66 or something. I'm like, okay, I'll be the Jason Liles, all one word. Thank you guys for having me on. James, Mimi, Mark. It's been so much fun. I definitely will have to do it again.
Potatoes are great.